Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Think Clinical podcast. My name is Hamza. Thank you so much for joining us each and every single week and listening to the beautiful things that we share on this platform and all the feedback that you give us. We really do appreciate that. In the next coming weeks, we will start having some guests on this platform, and we'll start talking to a few people who have done this on the African continent, and people who are looking at exploring different opportunities on the continent that would be helpful for you to be able to relate with some of the things I've been saying practically. So welcome once again, and I hope you enjoyed this episode like you do for every other one. So this week we are going to be talking about the importance of transferable skills. And last week I walked everybody through my journey and how I moved, what influenced my decision to be in the current space that I am right now. Some of the things that I considered, some of the things that I had to look at in moving into this space. And one of the things that you need to be very considerate of when you are moving away, especially from the clinical space as a doctor or a surgeon, into any other space, which is healthcare business for me, is the ability for you to have transferable skills, or identify those transferable skills and your ability to apply those in your new chosen field. So these can be applied across different jobs, and that's why they call them transferable skills. So you can move them from one place or one industry or one setting into another. In your case, you're moving it from the healthcare setting into the business setting, into the healthcare business setting. So these are some of the things that you need to look at now. Some of the transferable skills that you can move on as a doctor when you're moving into the clinical space. And the top of it all is your leadership and management skills, because if you're a clinician, you are mostly responsible for clinical teams, and especially if you're the head of the clinical team, you have residents in the team, you have medical officers in your team, you have house officers in your team, you have nurses in your team, you have laboratory technicians in your team, you have pharmacists in your team. You lead these teams, and the decisions you make trickles down to these people. So you manage teams already. You already exhibit a lot of leadership skills and management skills as a doctor. Naturally, that is how you are positioned. So this is a very important skill you can transfer to business, because business involves you to have a lot of leadership skills. It involves your ability to be able to identify and manage people very well. The second thing is your communication skills. And I remember way back from medical school, one of the things that every professor would encourage you to work on is how you deliver information, how you present patient information, how you present your story, how you present the story in such a way that it is convincing enough for you to be able to make a decision, or for people around you to be able to make the same decision that you came to. And communication skills is one of those things that you are taught to be very, 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 very clear when you are communicating what you need people to understand. And this skill is something else you can transfer into healthcare business, because when you start talking in that space, there's a lot of issues and a lot of things that are heavily burdened on communication that you need to pay attention to. And a good communication skills, or somebody with good communication skills, has the ability to succeed in business, simply because you're able to translate or transmit your vision and your ideas and your strategies very clearly to your teams, and they're able to understand you and jump on board with what your vision is and work with you to achieve that vision. The third thing is that as doctors, we are trained to be very analytical in our thinking, because you have all these things that are thrown at you, you have all these symptoms, all these signs that you pick up, you have all these laboratory investigations, and your ability to pick up the symptoms and the signs in the lab and the laboratory investigations, or any imaging things that you need to do, the ability to even determine what exactly you need to do to get to a conclusion, involves a lot of analytical thinking. That same analytical thinking is something you need when you move into the space of business. because every decision you make is going to cost you money. And the ability to determine what would cost you money but bring you a better return is very high, because if you don't, and if you are unable to make those decisions, every day you are going to be spending way more than you are supposed to be spending. You are going to be making less than you are supposed to be making. So it's important for you to understand that analytical thinking and problem solving, which is the other part of analytical thinking, is important in business, because every day as a business person you have issues coming at you that you need to solve. As a doctor, it's the same thing for you. Every day you walk into the clinic, you're immediately faced with challenges that involve you to solve a lot of issues. The ability to jump on those issues and fix them is what makes you a good doctor. So that's the second thing that we need to be very cognizant of, that you need to have a certain level of analytical thinking, problem solving, which you already have as a doctor. So moving away from there and coming to a business space, you can apply that analytical thinking to solve business related issues or take business related decisions. The third thing you need to look at is your financial acumen, which yes, this is debatable. Some doctors do, some doctors don't, because you understand your insurance, reimbursement, you understand medical coding, some don't understand that. So this might be a transferable skill that not everybody can relate with. So I'll move on to the last one, which is adaptability and flexibility, because as doctors, your ability to adapt makes it very important for you, especially as a surgeon, because sometimes you get into a situation where it's unexpected. That wasn't what you expected. The emergencies, there are things that will happen that will require you to immediately adapt or be flexible to change from whatever you planned before you went into the surgery, or whatever you planned before you went in for that ward rounds to review that patient, whatever the situation is. But that skill also helps you to succeed in business, because every day as a business person you are supposed to have the ability to be adaptable and be flexible in trying to see where those opportunities are and fully exploring those opportunities. Now you can look at this in terms of research, because when you look at articles in the Journal of Small Business Management, high levels of people with high levels of general transferable skills such as communication, leadership, and problem solving skills was actually associated and positively associated with success as far as business people are concerned. And if you look at this in another research, which was in the Journal of Entrepreneurial Behavior and Research, found that the possession of these transferable skills and transitioning them into from your employment or whatever you're doing into entrepreneurship was very important in predicting how successful you get. So these are some of the things that you need to pay attention to anytime you are looking at moving away. That do I have those transferable skills? And these are the transferable skills as a doctor you need if you want to move into a business space, and you already have these things. So when you transition from clinical, there are several principles that of transferable skills that need to ensure that you have a successful transition, and the first, identify and leverage those skills. So if you don't identify that you have those skills in the first place, you don't even know what you already have and what you don't. So you are probably going to spend time building your leadership skill when innately you already have a very strong foundation of leadership skills that you can explore. The second principle is to develop new skills, and you need to be open to this. So once you are able to determine what you are good at, then you can determine what you need to invest in. You need to communicate effectively, and that is one of the most important things you need to learn how to do as a business person. And then the other principle is that you need to be open to innovations as a business person, because that actually positions you very well to be able to understand how the business is moving, or how the industry is moving, and what you can explore both in the present and the future to be able to get ahead or stay sustainable in the long term. Other principles you need to do is to stay adaptable, and you need to look at building a strong team, because one of the things that would help you, especially in pursuing that vision that you created for your business is creating a strong team. And if you don't have that strong team together, you are going to struggle in the long term. The last thing that you need to look at is the patient, who is the most important component of this whole decision that you're making. Make sure whatever decision you make and whatever skills you are transferring, they are skills that will benefit the patient directly. And as far as this is concerned, you need to look at the decision that you're making. You need to tie it directly into the transferable skills that you've identified that you have. So this is what we're trying to say here. The moment you make that decision to move away, this is from my last week's episode, you need to go through all those principles that we spoke about last week. Most importantly, this week's episode emphasizes your ability to identify within yourself what skills you have already achieved as a doctor that you can transfer into healthcare entrepreneurship or healthcare business. Once you find those, make sure you are able and open to new and developing new skills in addition to what you already have, because you will need to. And once you're able to get those skills, those new skills coming up, you need to keep innovating every day. And this would help not make your journey through this new path easy, but it will make it easier than it's supposed to be. Now, the decision to move away has always been difficult. The decision or the ability to identify transferable skills is always very difficult, but you need to get into that space where you are comfortable with where you are with that decision and where you are with what you already have going into that decision. This has been another episode of the Think Clinical podcast. My name is Hamza, and again, if you haven't done so already, please remember to subscribe, like, and share. And I will see you in our next episode. Do have a great week.